Makri, Alu, greetings. Hello everybody. My name is Ahjamu and I'm the author of this recently released literary fiction novel entitled The Courage Equation. I just want to take a couple of seconds to talk to you about this book. The first thing I wanted to say about the book is just to tell you the story. It's a very unique book. The book is the story of a white woman in her 30s who moves to Ghana, Africa, West Africa, with her African husband who was born in the US. And what they do is they move there to escape the trauma of a racist experience they have at the hands of a violent white supremacist neo-Nazi group in Central Oregon. They write about their trauma and they end up having a bestseller, so they move to Accra, Ghana, and they start an independent school over there called Suku, which in Twi is justice school. And they're doing okay adjusting to that. They have hundreds of students enrolling at the school, and they meet a lot of wonderful people there in Accra, like Sister Adowa Kakieri, and they partner with her and other people, and they built the school. The problem is that the white supremacist leaders who murdered the main character's best friend in Oregon are released from prison, and after they're released from prison, young black boys begin disappearing in this fictional Central Oregon town. So the main character, Ahjamu, her husband Adisa, and a number of people from Ghana and the Bay Area decide to descend back into Central Oregon and engage in a military assault, seek and destroy mission against the white supremacist leaders, because they know the police or any other agency are not going to do that for them. What's important about the book is that it brings out what I believe are three very critical things that people don't often think about in this society today. Number one, the book has extremely strong female characters, very strong female characters. Ahjamu, the main character, is a woman who has a lot of self-doubt and anxiety, but she never lets that stop her from forging forward. And her two best friends, Adowa Kakieri in Ghana and Leanne in Oregon, are also very strong women. And then there's another sister, Imani, who's in the book, Imani Tashaka, who they all demonstrate abilities to lead, abilities to make difficult decisions in the field, and the understanding of what needs to be done to accomplish their objectives. And they don't let the men stand in their way of doing that. So I think that's a theme that needs to be expressed because you don't often see in popular culture. The second thing that's important about the book is it demonstrates a strong presence, a strong representation of Africa. Here, as I said, these folks established a justice school, Suku, in Ghana, and they are engaging in work to build up the self-determination and self-sufficiency of African people. And their experience in Ghana is an extremely positive one. And again, this is another aspect that you never see in popular culture. You know, Africa is only displayed as a prop or a backdrop or something where people are suffering and need to be saved by the great white savior. So that's pretty important. The third thing that's important to think about the book is that when people are oppressed and people are assaulted by violent white supremacist groups, by violent state agencies within this society, people have the right to sit down and decide that they're going to strike back. It's very odd that oppressed people, African people, people of color, women, LGBTQ people, etc., are always expected to suffer in silence without taking any action to stand up for ourselves. And what this book conveys is that no, when people are assaulted and they're violently victimized, they have a right to organize and they have a right to strike back. And so I think that's an important message that, again, is never usually given. In terms of how the book addresses white supremacy and patriarchy, I've kind of addressed some of that, but many of the themes of the book address those things more specifically. Obviously, the characters are fighting against racism. They're fighting on a larger level to organize against capitalism, a system that exploits people, primarily people of color, primarily Africa. So they're organizing against that. So that's definitely addressing the white supremacist piece. But also, again, the main character, Ahjamu, who's white, I think she demonstrates quite clearly the healthy and proper way to behave as a white ally. Although the story is told through her eyes, the story is not about her. It's about her working within an African framework and being humble and respectful of that framework, while also maintaining her dignity and her ability to be who she is. So I think that's important because there's a lot of discussion about how to be a white ally to oppressed people, African people, people of color, but we don't see many models as to how to actually carry that out in a healthy way that's beneficial to oppressed communities, but also allows the white allies to play a role that's healthy for them. So I think she models that in this book, which I think is critically important. And along those lines, she and the other women stand up against sexist behavior. They assert themselves in many instances against that. They unite against it. There are instances in the book where they have to address rape culture, and they do that in ways that I think you will find are extremely helpful and healthy to model in how we should go about conducting our lives in this real world. Why should you read this book? I think you have to read this book and books like this because I believe that the role of culture is to inspire people to act and to engage in actions that can change this world and make it better. The role of culture is not just to make money for people. So if people understand what I just said, then books like this one, books like The Courage Equation, are books that people have to support. You have to support it because we have to begin to change the cultural paradigm in this world today. And the way we do that is raising people's consciousness. And the way we raise people's consciousness is by presenting people with positive role models who are strong women, who are anti-patriarchal, who are anti-white supremacists. Where societies like African societies, the societies of the indigenous peoples of the Western Hemisphere, Palestinian people, where these folks are lifted up and their culture is respected and is given the just due that it properly deserves. So read literature like this so that we can begin to change the narrative in these societies that exist today. Begin to look at people differently, begin to respect people, and build societies where people are able to reach their full potential. So get your copy of The Courage Equation. Read it in your book club. Spread the word. This is the positive type of literature that I believe strongly is what's needed to address many of the problems that we have in this society today. So forward ever, backwards never.